Hello, Tim. Hi.
Hi.
My guests today are Benjamin Baker and Timothy Ridout, who have recorded a concert for the VRS, and which we will be broadcasting shortly. I'm so excited, and I've seen, of course, what you've done, and it's absolutely wonderful. And I think, for me personally, this little chat that we're going to have is what I would call a replacement for the ultra boring bios that normally go in a concert program. My first question is to you, Benjamin. You're a New Zealander.
That's right.
But you don't speak like one. Have you been
No,
in England a long time?
Yes, I have. So I was born in New Zealand and started playing the violin. And then when I was about 7 years old, I got a chance to meet and play a little something with Nigel Kennedy, who suggested that I apply to the Yehudi Menuhin School in the UK. So about 18 months and an audition later, I got a scholarship to come to the UK and have been based here ever since.
That's brilliant. I'm like, we did once present Nigel here, and what stands out in my memory is that there was a person in the audience with green hair. I was so excited. It was fantastic. Tim, so my question to you is, when you started out, did you start on the viola or did you start on the violin and move over?
I did start on the viola, actually.
Oh, great.
But it was actually kind of by chance. I didn't have this dream since I was a 2-year-old or something to be a viola player. But there was just a concert at my school with all the peripatetic teachers coming to play something. And when the viola player played the theme tune from Harry Potter, I said, I want to do that one. And so they got me like that.
That's amazing. I mean, I often wonder in the viola world, how many violists actually start out as violinists? Is that a really stupid question?
No, well, I think in the past, it was never the case. I think pretty much everyone started on the violin 100 years ago or so. But I think these days, more and more people do start on the viola. I hear more and more stories of people who started on the viola. In fact, I know that Lawrence Power and Tabea Zimmermann both were kind of original violists. So there's quite a few around these days.
Ben, if you'll forgive me, the viola is actually my favorite stringed instrument of all. And actually, ever since I've had a really distinguished roster of visiting violas, starting way back in our third year, I think, with Nobuko Imai. And then carrying on, and of course Tabea has been here several times, and Lawrence came to our chamber music festival. I love the viola. So how did you two first meet?
Do you want to tell the story, Ben? Or?
Sure. I mean, if I'm remembering right, that would be Windsor, would it?
That's correct. Yeah,
that's right.
That's how I remember it, at least.
Yeah, I think I do too. So it was through a competition we've both been involved with in just south of London, which actually takes place in the grounds of in Windsor the town and in Windsor Castle.
Oh, right.
And I was involved in the competition and won 2 years before, and then I met Tim at the competition afterwards. And that's sort of when we first met, and I think it was maybe just a year later. I think we maybe played our first Sinfonia Concertante together, and it sort of all snowballed from there.
It's wonderful when you actually find someone that you can work with and feel so comfortable working with. I think that's a very, very special relationship, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
I really hope, I've been thinking a lot actually since you did this concert for us. So the first thing I want to say to you is that I really would love to bring you to Vancouver. Maybe it would make sense to come with a pianist so that you could do a recital, which is a few concerts, which is a mixture of everything. And besides which, I'm in love with your pianist, Ben.
Oh,
Um,
he'll be very touched. I mean, I think he's pretty great too.
He's amazing. I mean, that Wigmore's, and I mean, I've been hearing about him for a number of years. We're talking about Daniel Lebhardt, the pianist.
Yeah, of course, wonderful pianist.
So I think the sensible thing to do, which I'd like to dream about in the future, is to bring you here for a week and have you do a sort of a residency, work with students, whether it's talking to them or master classes or whatever, and do these variety of concerts and interactions. Does that sound at all interesting?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think the chance to together to curate a few different programs and explore the different combinations would be really wonderful.
It's interesting you saying too that, of course, in this COVID era, that concerts like the one that we recorded have been such a lifeline through while doing anything live in person is so difficult. But of course, it's no replacement for what for the connection that we can the opportunity to connect that is a live concert, and also the amount that can be done in a residency, and by sort of having feet on the ground in a place for longer than just
2 minutes,
longer than just a concert, or
exactly.
More than you can do online.
The particular joy for me is to be able to do these videos with artists who are on the way up, as opposed to already hugely established musicians, because that's what we do at the VRS. That's how we started. So another question for you is, so your careers were really, going like this. Then COVID hit. How are you coping with the fact that things seem to have come to a dead end, or are you finding other ways of doing things? And are you worried at all about when things open up, how there's going to be a mad rush for everybody to want to get going again, plus these younger artists coming up behind who need gigs as well?
I mean, my feeling was, it was very scary a year ago when everything stopped, and suddenly these kind of hard worked plans and projects that sometimes have been years in the making suddenly just fall through. And of course, being at the beginning of things, it was definitely painful. But I think quite quickly, like within a few months of that happening, I was just aware that in a way, yes, it was a huge setback, but actually the kind of the nature of what we do and the challenge of what we do sort of remained the same, in that it was sort of finding the opportunities that we need as artists, and that mean something to us personally, that we feel we can really add value and bring something to. That was still the challenge. And it just happens that maybe, yes, for the last 12 months, it's been more challenging than maybe it was when, things were running more smoothly before last March. But yeah, I think a year in, while it's still difficult and still challenging on a daily basis, I don't feel fearful for the future. I'm in a way just relishing the challenge, the same as I was in February last year, and the way that sort of I take a sort of the only way to get up in the morning in every day for the last 12 months.
Is it hard to be motivated to keep playing and practicing?
I don't find it hard to keep playing at all. In fact, that was maybe one of the nice things the last 12 months, is that almost immediately I think we both had the opportunity, because we actually were chatting about it in April on the phone, that that we finally had a chance, maybe the first in years, to actually prioritize what we're most interested in, or things we wanted to do, not connected to any date or engagement.
Yes.
Or long-term planning. I think what has been difficult is getting up in the morning and opening the computer, facing the email inbox.
Yes. And what about you, Tim?
Well, it's been it's hard to believe that we're a year into it all now, and I think it's definitely come in different stages and phases for me. What this year has brought. I mean, at the beginning, I'd had a really crazy February, just traveling back to back with a crazy amount of programs, and in fact, for the several years prior, I'd been more or less doing that all the time. So at the beginning, I completely underestimated the pandemic and thought that this meant a couple of months off my schedule, and thought it was a very healthy thing. I had some time to read some books, and
we all thought it would just last a couple of months. Yeah,
exactly. And so I think that was the initial the initial feeling was, of course, it was terrible what was going on in the world, but I thought personally it could be almost a positive thing. But now one year in, the feeling is really quite different, seeing how badly it's hit everyone, and how badly it's hit so many things. I mean, there's definitely been some positive elements, having time more to reflect. And for me as a kid, I never learned the piano, so I've been really incorporating some time at the piano every day, which has been a massive positive thing. But to be honest, I just can't wait to get back on the road, to travel, to meet audiences and meet other musicians in person more frequently. And so I'm really hoping with the rollout of vaccines that slowly quarantines will come to an end, and it'll be safe to have 1,000 people in a hall, or however many, and to get back to playing chamber music with lots of different people and traveling with orchestras. So I'm really looking forward to the future. I suppose there's a small amount of anxiety, but I'm not so fearful that life will return. It's more a matter of when, and I just hope it will be soon.
So what have you got up your sleeves for the next month or two?
Well, actually, at the moment, I'm at home, like most people. But over the next 2 or 3 weeks, I'm going to be quite busy. I've been quite fortunate during this whole time that I've been a member of the BBC Radio 3 New Generation Artists Scheme.
Oh, right.
So luckily, yes, the radio has carried on doing some things. So
yes.
I'm going to go up to Manchester and record something with BBC Phil, and then do a recital in Cardiff, and then I think something at the Wigmore Hall the week after, and then I'll finish the month with a performance of the BBC Symphony.
Who will you play with?
The pianist I'll play with in Cardiff she's called Chaoying Chang.
Mm-hmm.
A wonderful pianist. But I tend to play with several different pianists rather than having one fixed duo partner. I find that so many different people have so many great different things to offer that I like the variety of those relationships.
Tell me, Ben, I was so intrigued to see on your Wigmore Hall performance that you included the Copland Sonata. I mean, it's not something that you hear often. How did you come to that?
Well, it just so happens that it's part of the reason why we wanted to, especially to include it in that Wigmore program, is that we are, it's on an album coming out, actually our first together, Daniel and I, at the end of April with Delphian Records, which includes the Copland Poulenc Sonata and Prokofiev's second violin sonata as well, which happen to be all works from 1942. The Poulenc and Prokofiev, I mean, I'm sort of roundabout way explaining how we got to Copland. But the Poulenc and Prokofiev were things that were a big part of kind of our, I guess, our duo work together, maybe 2 or 3 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And shortly after that, we did some of our first big tours of the USA just after that. And when we'd been to the USA the first time, we'd taken a lot of British music, Britten's Suite, which he'd written in his early 20s, for violin and piano, and Elgar's Sonata. And on this second tour, we actually wanted, wonderful music. And actually on this tour, we kind of wanted to delve more into North American music. And of course, Copeland is so such a key figure in that. And it was almost by chance that I stumbled upon this upon his sonata and was really just really taken with it. And in the years since of playing it, I've just been really kind of enthused and surprised actually with just there's something about it that it's a piece with an enormous amount of possibilities. Lots of it is very kind of actually almost sparsely written. In lots of parts of it, he only uses the bare minimum of notes that he would need to sort of say what he means, which presents some very, very unique challenges, I think.
You know what? One of my very favorite pieces in the whole world is, and it's not often played, is the Beethoven String Quintet.
Wonderful pieces.
Yeah. So I have to get a string quartet and an extra violist, right, to do that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, therein lies the challenge, doesn't it? The thought of 6 musicians traveling together, the cost of it, and unless it's a big tour. And which leads me to probably the final question before I because you guys must be hungry for supper. To what extent do you expect to be affected by this Brexit problems which are coming up and going to Europe to play concerts? Is it driving you nuts, or do you leave it to your managers to get driven nuts? I mean,
both. To be honest, I mean, I'm supposed to play in Madrid at the beginning of April, but the process of doing a visa just to go to Spain is already very expensive and time consuming, and you need months of bank statements. And it's a bit horrific, and I'll have to leave my passport at the embassy. I mean, I'm really hoping the concert will work out, but it's a headache for me and a worry that I will lose the concert altogether. And I think an even bigger headache in terms of paperwork for my manager, because they're kind of fighting the good fight to try and make it happen.
So what kind of money does it cost to get the visa?
I've seen various numbers floated around. The one I was quoted is £189, and that's to go and play one concert.
And who pays for that, the presenter or you?
Well, I think that is in discussions at the moment. I mean, when I was invited for the engagement 18 months ago, we knew nothing about visa costs. So I guess, I guess this will be decided on an individual basis from now onwards. But I really hope some sort of sensible agreement is reached, whereby if you're traveling for 24 hours to go and play a concert, or even for a week, it seems ridiculous to be almost grouped in the same category as someone who's going to work there for 2 years for a company or something.
And the other thing is, though, that if for example, this Spanish engagement had been booked alongside an engagement in Germany or Switzerland, if you were going to, would you need separate visas for each one of those countries? And could you do it all in one go, or would you have to keep coming back?
I'm waiting to see, because it's actually, I'm supposed to play in Italy 2 days prior, which it is kind of a tour together with these two engagements. And so I don't know. I think so far a lot of European countries just haven't put anything in place. They simply haven't put anything in place for a short-term working solution. I mean, I was supposed to go to Sweden a couple of weeks ago, which sadly I couldn't because of a travel ban, coronavirus related. But they had nothing to offer, and there was kind of the check-in on the app. Lufthansa was asking me for a visa, but the visa simply didn't exist yet. So it's a real it's a storm of chaos, and it's not very pleasant to be caught up in.
I think it's where it's left a lot of UK-based musicians really exasperated as well, which is that it sort of leaked to the press in January that there was an opportunity to work in a provision into the Brexit deal that was signed, and then the government rejected the EU's proposal, which leaves us in the situation that there are 27 different, or if that's the right number of countries, but 27 different procedures for each country. So whereas it's not that you can get it's not possible at the moment to get one visa or agreement to cover
all of them. No.
Which is a pretty fun to makes things a lot more inaccessible for our kinds of engagements.
And do you think that the European artists are going to have the same kind of challenges getting into Britain?
I remember reading something about this. I seem to remember it's actually slightly easier. It's a little bit like it's slightly easier for American musicians to come to the UK than it is for us to go to America.
Yeah.
But it's still much, much more harder than it used to be.
Oh dear, yeah. It's one challenge after another, isn't it? But let's hope that the arts will prevail and music will prevail. And we have to think positively. And I really look forward to sharing your wonderful performance with our viewers. And I wish you lots and lots of luck. And I hope that before we're all too old, I can get you to Vancouver.
We'll look forward to it. That will be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Take care of yourselves.
Thanks so much. Hope to meet you in person.
It's great to meet you too. Yeah, and we'll meet. And you know what? Do you like Japanese food?
I love it. Yeah.
Because this is the place for sushi and wonderful. Vancouver has the most incredible restaurants. So I promise you, you'll have a blast when you come here. Guaranteed. Amazing. Okay? Take care. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much, Lynn.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.